Welcome back to another episode of the Sickos Committee. Where in the world is this coach? Talking about journeyman coaches that have traveled all over the world to coach in many different locations, flying everywhere, driving everywhere, and we mapped out their path after delving in their Wikipedia rabbit hole of basically all their job history, and we measured out. We calculated the miles. We calculated the flights, the driving, and everything like that, and just really, really enjoy tracking where these wild careers take these folks and these coaches. And basically, when you get into the coaching lifestyle, sometimes your next job is not necessarily close to your current job. That you get fired or you quit or whatever, but it's fun to explore. So our next subject is a head coach that probably most of you know, and it is Mr. June Jones. June Jones, probably very familiar, SMU Hawaii coach. Probably know the name, uh, but there are plenty other stops in between you may not actually know about Mr. June Jones. So let's start with his college playing career. June Jones was playing high school quarterback in Portland, Oregon. Uh, June decided to be an Oregon Duck, and he played in Eugene from 1971 to 1972. Then he transferred to Hawaii for the 1973 and 74 seasons, and finally he was back to Portland, and he played for FCS Portland State from 1975 to 1976. Again, this it's kind of like transfers back in the 70s. This is before the transfer portal, so this is something that you didn't really see too often, but June Jones probably setting himself up for a lot of trips to Hawaii here, which, you know, I don't blame him. I want to go to Hawaii too. Uh, During his time at Portland State, he was introduced to the run and shoot offense by Mouse Davis. It would be an offense that he would champion throughout his coaching career. So during his playing career, his journeyman totals were 3 hours and 33 minutes and 222 miles of driving. The flying portion of his college career, now this is just to and from his destination. It's not how many flights he took. We can't possibly know that. But he flew for 5,181 miles for a total of 11 hours and 50 minutes of flying. This is just to and from there. Now, June Jones was good enough to be a professional football player. He was undrafted in the NFL, but he was signed by the Atlanta Falcons, where he started 5 games for the Atlanta Falcons in his 4-year career. He then left the Falcons and played 1 year in the CFL for the Toronto Argonauts in 1982. In June's professional playing career, you'd have to drive basically from Portland, Oregon, all the way to Atlanta. You'd have to drive 53 hours for a total of 3,584 miles. June Jones, the coaching journey begins. This is the fun part. So June's done playing. He's in Toronto. He lands his first coaching gig at the University of Hawaii as the quarterback coach in 1983. So we're going to credit the flight directly from Toronto to Hawaii here. That flight is 10 hours and 10 minutes of flying for a total of 4,649 miles. He then made his way to the first iteration of the USFL to the Houston Gamblers as a wide receivers coach. So he went from Hawaii to Houston. That's a flight of 7 hours and 35 minutes and a total of 3,892 miles of flying. Then after he was with the Gamblers, he landed a job as the offensive coordinator of the Denver Gold. This is the Denver Gold logo. It is very pretty and it is beveled. It's shiny too. It's kind of like a sun in the middle of I have no idea what it's in the middle of, but it looks like a sun with a bunch of jagged mountains around it. It's great. Following the demise of the USFL, Jones spent the 1986 season working as an offensive assistant for the Ottawa Rough Riders in the CFL. So again, he goes to Denver. I'm back in Canada, baby. Then he bounced down to Houston as the Oilers quarterback coach in 1987 to 1988. So he's Canada back to Houston. Then finally made his way back to the Atlanta Falcons in 1991 as the offensive coordinator, and finally he landed his first head coaching gig with the Falcons in 1994. In this leg of June Jones's career, you'd have to drive 100 hours and 6,580 miles to match all of the traveling to and from these destinations, which is ridiculous, right? It's crazy. So this part of his career, after the Atlanta Falcons, I say June Jones finding his way out back west. After he was fired from the Falcons head coaching gig in 1996, he took a year off from coaching. He then drove 31 hours, 2,140 miles to his next destination in San Diego. He returned to the San Diego Chargers as the quarterback's coach in 1998. After the sixth game of the season, head coach Kevin Gilbride was fired, and the Chargers named June Jones their interim head coach. After his stint in the NFL, he then flew from San Diego back out to Honolulu for 6 hours, 10 minutes, and a total of 2,607 miles. He landed the Hawaii football head coaching job in 1999. He won the Sporting News Coach of the Year in his first year at Hawaii. He won WAC Coach of the Year in 1999, 2006, and 2007. Towards the end of his Hawaii tenure, June and the Hawaii administration officials didn't see eye to eye on numerous things. So he decided to take the SMU job in 2007. So he flew from Honolulu to Dallas, 8 hours and 20 minutes of flying for 3,787 miles of travel. In his time at SMU, he was able to bring the Mustangs out of the doldrums from the NCAA death penalty that occurred in the late 1980s. He achieved their most wins in a season since the 1980s by going 7-5 in 2009. In 2014, June then resigned from SMU, citing personal issues just 2 games into the 2014 season. June then decided to rest for the remainder of 2014 and 2015, not coaching anywhere. In 2016, he returned to Hawaii, but this time as an offensive coordinator for Kapolei High School in Hawaii. So we're going to credit him with a return trip from Dallas to Honolulu here. We're going to add another 8 hours and 20 minutes for another 3,787 miles for travel. So June Jones is back coaching professionally again. So June returned to the mainland, but he went back to Canada this time with the Hamilton Tiger Cats as an assistant coach late in 2017. He flew 10 hours and 10 minutes, 4,649 miles back to be a coordinator in the CFL. Like Hawaii to Canada, just incredible. He was named head coach in 2017, and this is where he stayed until 2019, where he made way for Orlando Stenhauer to take over as the Ticats head coach. I did bevel the Ticats logo here, which is nice. June then found himself back in Houston in the XFL, the new version of the XFL, as the Houston Roughnecks coach in 2020. Then the XFL shut down due to the pandemic. With the new iteration of the XFL, June found himself back as the offensive coordinator when it returned. But now, instead of being in Houston, he was in Seattle as the Seattle Sea Dragons XFL offensive coordinator in 2023. To match the travel of June Jones on this final leg of his career, you'd have to drive 57 hours and 3,823 miles. Now, the XFL, when they merged with the USFL, the Seattle Sea Dragons were no more, and June Jones was out of a coaching job. Now, he hasn't coached since this job in 2023. Now, I don't want to say that he'll never coach again, but June is currently 72. I'm not going to rule anything out because, we got Belichick coaching. for University of North Carolina right now. And, we have some older coaches that are still kicking around, but he is currently unemployed. But that does not mean that June Jones will not rise again and coach again. But let's go over June Jones's journeyman totals. So I'm adding up his college playing career, his professional playing career, and his coaching career. So he's probably the coach that has nearly the most everything. But there is another coach that has probably more coming up in the series if we keep continuing to do these videos, which I hope you like, and I hope you subscribe, and I hope you share these videos. But June Jones is journeyman travel totals. If you wanted to imitate his travels to every stop in his career, you would have 244 hours of driving for a total of 16,349 miles driven. You would have approximately 63 hours of flying and 28,557 miles flown. So the total combined hours flying and driving, that's 307 hours of travel. The total combined miles flown and driven is 44,906 miles, which is incredible. It kind of feels like June Jones had a cheat code for the journeyman totals by racking up those numbers with so many jobs in Hawaii and then back to Canada. I really hope that June had a frequent flyer miles program, as he was logging so many flights in his career. Currently, total wise, Bart Andrews maintains the Journeyman Coach travel lead with 250 and a half hours of driving. However, June Jones does take the lead for most flight mileage of 63 hours and 28,557. And June does definitely take the total combined miles flown and driven with that 44,906 miles. Just a ridiculous amount of travel. I can't imagine being on a plane that much. I don't even think I've come anywhere close to being on a plane that many hours in my life. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not going to add up my own miles. I just add the stuff for June Jones and for these videos. So again, like, subscribe, comment, be nice to me. If you want these videos to keep coming, tell me you want them to keep coming. And again, we appreciate you listening to the Sickos Committee, watching these crazy slideshow videos. Shout out to Big Sky Bridget for putting these together. And we hope you enjoy them. Thank you for supporting the Sickos Committee. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or evening whenever you listen to this. Thank you.